Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Feel Good with Helper. My name is Isaiah.
And I'm Anshita, and today's episode is called Pressure Points. We are unpacking something a lot of men carry silently, which is the weight of career, stress, financial pressure, and that quiet fear of falling behind.
This really resonates with many people, including myself. Um, Often people graduate, you start working, and then you start seeing everyone posting milestones. And suddenly it's like, wait, like, am I supposed to be there too? That voice that says you should be further ahead, it can sometimes be very loud. Even when you look like you've got it all together, there's that constant pressure that's always kind of there.
And you're not alone if you feel that way. And that's exactly what we're gonna discuss today, that why that pressure exists and how to alleviate it without really losing motivation.
Well, let me start with a little like personal reflection. So a few weeks ago, I was on LinkedIn. I know that can be a little dangerous.
Yeah.
I saw a friend posting about his promotion, and then I seen another friend talking about now doing their PhD. And of course, I'm very happy for these people that I've grown up with. I'm proud to see them doing well. But then like I also like at the same time felt this like tightness in my chest, um, kind of like that voice again, kind of whispering like maybe you're falling behind or you aren't doing enough or you could just be doing more. Um, and then I realized like it wasn't like jealousy that I was feeling, but it was just that kind of like that fear. The fear of like maybe not measuring up to just where I want to be personally in life.
Wow, that's a very honest reflection, and I've been there, and I think that's very normal. But also, you're right. Like so many men, especially men, carry that silently. They don't talk about it because you feel like they should already have it under control. So I totally hear you on that, and really appreciate you being honest about it as well.
Yeah, I do feel like it's something that's pretty normal, but it's kind of hard to put into words sometimes or understand what you're feeling. And like growing up, you hear especially as a man, you hear like to be a provider, to have a plan, to don't waste any time. But what exactly happens when life doesn't go according to that plan? And we know that happens a lot with people where they had a plan, but you kind of have to delay it and do something else in the meantime and get there eventually. So like this really messes with your head, and you begin to believe that like your own personal value is tied to the specific title or whatever paycheck you're getting at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen that too in friends, in family. Sometimes it's not about ego at all, it's about identity. And when work is your identity, any setback feels like a personal failure, which should not really be the case. But I'm sad to say this is really the case. And no, I feel like, and that's a constant, no matter what cultural background. Maybe in some certain cultures it is more prevalent than others, but definitely it's a universal concept, and men do carry that pressure.
Yeah, that's a very good point that in certain cultures especially they really push that. But it is very universal, especially for men. You just like you feel that kind of pressure. And that's kind of like it makes it hard to rest. You want to prove yourself so badly that you forget like just to breathe sometimes, right? And I used to personally feel guilty just taking like a day off, and like resting it just meant I was like being lazy basically. But I've learned that like rest, it's part of your process. Everyone needs rest, and at the end of the day it's not a sprint. Life is a marathon.
I totally feel you on what you said about resting. I can never rest even if I like force myself to, because in the back of my head it's always like, Anshita, you're being lazy. Anshita, go do something, don't waste time. But like that's the quiet burnout people don't notice until they're already running on empty. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Exactly, especially when you're used to being go 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 all the time. Like you hate to take a rest and you just feel like you're doing nothing, right? But
Exactly.
sometimes it's necessary. um But yeah, like sometimes like we look fine on the outside, but inside you're just like you're tired of pretending. And that's when I honestly like I knew I had to change something but my routine.
Yeah. So let's explore why this pressure exists. Where do you think it starts for most men?
Personally, honestly, it starts pretty young, I would say. Um we grew up hearing that our value comes from what we produce. So that starts with stuff like our grades, playing sports, and then that eventually turns into our career. You learn that your early achievements equals approval, and that kind of sticks with you. And as you grow up, you realize that the world is more complicated, but the pressure is never really left.
Yeah, and then social media turns that pressure into a 24-hour comparison game. Like, I've noticed it too. People posting milestones back to back, and you start to wonder, am I doing enough? Like, as you mentioned in the beginning about that LinkedIn thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Social media is such a big one nowadays because it's always in our face. And you start comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's like highlight reel. And you kind of forget that you're seeing like the best 5 minutes of their whole day. And you're now that comparison is gonna start killing your gratitude. It's so easy to see someone's life there and think, oh, like everything's going perfect for them. But at the end of the day, you don't know what they're going through, just like how you have your own behind the scenes and what you have to get to, right?
Exactly. And maybe someone else is thinking that how you have it, everything like so well put together. But yeah, it's a ripple effect. And that's a great way to put it, what you said about it killing gratitude. I agree with that 100%. And it feeds into that toxic productivity too. Like you start feeling guilty for slowing down as if rest means you're falling behind. It's a toxic endless cycle.
Exactly. Like men, especially, we really internalize this and we equate stillness with failure. But the rest, it's not an enemy. It's really just growth. It's just part of it, honestly. Um, Once I started stop judging myself for not always hustling, I actually started to think a bit more clearly and give myself maybe a second just to just take a deep breath and kind of ground myself a little bit and come back to what I really need to focus on and what my values are.
Yeah, that's the irony, right? Slowing down often helps you move forward. You have to sometimes take a few steps back to go a lot of steps forward.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish there were just more guys that heard that growing up, because when you tie your worth to this timeline, like you're never really present. And when you're just chasing all the time, and we all have our own timeline at the end of the day, and it's okay to be uncomfortable waiting for that moment to come, but you have to be okay with the present and what you're currently working on. So maybe we could transfer a little bit over to now this like this career and financial pressure that we've been talking about, and this is so huge, especially for men, because we start to feel this honestly as soon as you finish high school, because you're already ready to like start your career, you're building on something. If that's school, there's always something there. So we can get into this big one. So with money in our career, there's kind of this unspoken belief that men should be like financially secure by like their mid 20s. But we all know that could be like further from the truth, where
Yeah.
not a lot of men aren't going to be in that position, but you're going to feel that pressure. Um, and I've personally had months where I've been working hard, but I still felt like I just wasn't making the progress that I wanted to make, right? And it just creates this constant like background anxiety where you know that you're working towards something, but it still just never feels like enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just about numbers, it's about pressure to appear stable and like more together. And I've seen so many men I know carry that like an armor, never letting anyone see them stressed or overwhelmed, which I think even makes the situation even worse than it is.
Yeah, it definitely does, because you're just holding that on yourself all the time. Um, and because like talking about money also like it kind of like feels like taboo in a way. It's like you're not allowed to say that you're struggling. Like I don't think anyone likes to admit that. But once you can start to open up a little bit more, and then you start to realize that everyone like feels this way at some point, and it's not a total weakness. It's just like the reality of life, and this is something that everyone goes through. But it can be very hard to kind of just talk about that, right?
Exactly, yeah. And even the ones doing well financially still feel that pressure, right? Because expectations keep rising. That's the thing with expectations. And that's why I like what you said earlier about redefining success.
Yeah, exactly. For me, success it used to mean like just like a specific number, like a number in the bank. But now for me, I kind of changed that to where it's now more of like a peace of mind, and kind of like with this gratitude of saying like, do I feel content at the end of the day? And am I building something sustainable? And overall, that's the bigger win than any specific title. Just understanding that you still have your own goals and you're still getting towards there, but it's just one day at a time, and having that peace of mind that you are like doing what you have to do, and you can be content at the end of the day.
That's such a healthy shift, Isaiah. Like success as peace, not pressure, not numbers. And at the end of the day, that is what it boils down to. Because if you're trying to quantifying success based on a number in your bank, then that that bar is always gonna go up and up and up, and all your life you would just waste it or spend it chasing that goal which you know you're never, so you're setting yourself up for failure by defining success in that term.
Yeah.
So yeah. So question, when you start to feel that weight building, what actually helps you?
So, personally, the first thing I would say, it sounds very simple, but to literally just pause. And I'll literally just stop, like whatever I'm doing, take a deep breath and just like say to myself, pause, don't panic. Um, it is so simple, but I feel like a lot of people just don't take that time to just pause and kind of ground themselves a little bit. It's so easy to go from one thing to another, but if you just pause just for a little bit, because it's panic, it kind of makes you react from fear, and pausing lets you respond with a lot more clarity.
I love that. I sort of do something similar, which is, and that's for my overthinking and my anxiety. Whenever I have these destructive thoughts running in my head, I have given that voice a name, which I call Rebecca, and I'm like, shut up, Rebecca,
Yeah.
you're being too loud. So that's my way. But yeah, that was definitely a great tool. What's the next one?
So the next one would be like kind of what we just talked about, which is like redefining our success. And this is kind of just about redefining success. I would say it's about kind of rewiring your brain to understand your goals and kind of put them in different categories, and not making it so limited to one thing. So if you were to ask yourself, what does success look like for me today? Not for the next decade, just today. Um, because sometimes it's peace, sometimes it's progress, and sometimes it's just showing up. Much of the stress that we experience related to these pressures, it just comes from worrying about the possible future. And if we don't look at ourselves in the present, then the unknown future, it doesn't really matter. If you have to take it one day at a time at the end of the day, and just to build onto these goals. Over time, this leads to a successful week, and then a successful year, and then ultimately a better future. And it's so easy to get, you get caught up, right, in just thinking about the future all the time, and that's where a lot of that anxiety starts to build. If you can start to redefine your success and just go a day at a time, like we said earlier, what did I do today? Do I feel good about what I did today? Then you could slowly build that week by week, and eventually that will lead you to better success in the long haul.
I love that. And that's so true. It's actually you're compounding by doing it every day. At the end of the day, you are just compounding your results and your success. And it reminds me of a book that I read, which is called Atomic Habits. And that is exactly what they talk about, like how small habits, small daily. And by keeping your success or by redefining your success that way, I think you're keeping it achievable as well. So in the back of your mind, you're also somewhat like reducing that pressure, because if you feel like, oh, I have to climb mountain one day, then it just it's constantly there, and it also affects your daily efforts you may take to prepare to climb that mountain. So it grounds you in the present, to be precise. I love that.
Exactly. And I'd also recommend to a lot of people to maybe get like a daily journal or something like that, or something just to write it. That's something that I personally do. And at the end of the day, I write down everything that I was able to accomplish, what goals I still want to accomplish, and just kind of reminds me that I'm doing something each day. And then I can look back at that journal at the end of the week or even at the end of the year, and I'm like, oh, okay, I did a lot of what I said I would do. Because it's so easy to be like, oh, I could have did more, but then you look back a little bit, you'll see, okay, I was actually doing a lot more than I thought it was.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. I also do something similar, which is I have a to-do list and I like to write things down. So like by the end of the year, like I can see that, okay, these are all the things that I have actually done.
Hmm.
And journaling is, I feel like everyone should do it. I've been doing it since 2019. I have never stopped. And you're totally right. Like at the end of the year, when you look at how far you have come, what you wanted, maybe like you have achieved a lot of things or you have grown as a person, it is such a great feeling.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So third would be just talking about it. And that's gonna be one of the biggest things I always get on, especially when it comes to men, because we just hate talking about stuff. Um, so honestly, like as men, we're not taught to do that enough. Even just saying like I'm stressed about work to someone you can trust can just like diffuse such a significant amount of internal pressure. A lot of people don't even like admitting that they are stressed when they feel like they're in an important position and they can't show that weakness. But just talking to one person alone could really diffuse that pressure. And it's like you exhale for the first time in weeks once you're able to just get that off your chest. And it's essential to discuss these things rather than just letting them build up until you just feel extremely overwhelmed. Uh, like just getting these things off your chest and into the open, it can really do a lot.
Absolutely. And it encourages other men to do the same as well. I know it is so hard to do, but at the end of the day, connection is healing and you cannot fix that pressure in isolation.
Yeah, exactly. And because we really aren't told this at a young age to just talk about your emotions sometimes, like you always hear like, oh, just be a man, or you're a big boy, don't worry about it, right? You'll you'll figure it out. Um, and then you kind of get to a point where you're like, okay, like maybe I can just talk to my close friend about whatever I'm going through, and then you might realize they're going through some of the same things, but you're just afraid to kind of get there sometimes. And just by having these connections, letting people know how you're really feeling, it kind of just normalizes it and makes you kind of realize that like it's completely normal to feel some of this pressure sometimes. At the end of the day, we're just human, and we all sometimes just need someone to lean on just to talk about it.
Absolutely. And I love that this generation is actually like aware of it and they're talking about it, which is, I think, in itself is a really big win. I feel like vulnerability takes a lot of strength, but once you do that, as you said, it opens up the gate for so many others to do the same and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. I've found it made a huge difference, and I have been trying to do it a lot more over the last few years.
So that's so great to hear. Do you have any other final tools or tricks or tips you would want to share
Yeah.
with us?
Yeah, I'll say so for the last one, which I think is very important, which is just celebrate the small wins. And so like honestly, like we think that growth has to be like very like loud or obnoxious, like or obvious, where it's like it's right in our face. But sometimes the most significant wins are just like very quiet, like just choosing that rest, um, setting your boundaries, or even starting again after a bad week. You kind of take these little wins and they will start to slowly compound. And that is what's going to build upon these goals that we have one day. And by celebrating these wins, you're actually acknowledging what you're going through. And you could do this in ways, like we said, with journaling, you're in that way you were celebrating small wins. If you were writing down things that you did good in the day, or you did good in the week, or you hit these certain goals, I think that's very important because you are reminding yourself, and it's so easy to get away from these little wins that overall are going to make our future better, our day better, our week better.
Absolutely. And resilience often looks ordinary, but that's what makes it so real. That's one of the reasons why you also started Helper, to make tools like this easier to access, because support should not start at burnout. It should start way before that. Burnout should not even happen, should not be in the picture.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Those small things, that's what keeps you going when just life feels way too heavy sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you were to ask for one key takeaway from all of this, would you want to share some final thoughts?
Yeah. So honestly, like if you're listening to this right now and you feel like you're behind, just listen closely. You're not failing. You're just learning. You're becoming. And life doesn't just have one timeline. There's no race. There's just overall growth.
Oh, I love that. I couldn't have said it better. Pressure is not always bad. For me personally, I perform really well under pressure, but sometimes, like, yeah, it shows you what matters most, but you don't have to carry it alone or let it define your worth or let it crush you. Use it for your advantage.
Exactly. Usually I'll say the goal isn't to escape pressure. It's just to carry it very differently, with awareness, self-respect, and just like overall kindness for your own pace. And like you said, for yourself too, pressure can also be a good thing, right? It kind of creates who we are. It can sometimes push us, but it's just using it in the right way, and you carry it in a way that's going to help yourself.
Exactly. We can make it one of our biggest strengths, if we do it right. Thank you so much. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who might need a reminder that they're doing better than they think. And Isaiah, thank you so much for the amazing insights that you shared with us today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for everyone for joining us. So remember, take a deep breath, take a break, and just take pride in how far you've come. Okay? See you next time.